Members of the public attending on Zoom, except for board members and county staff, will be placed on mute by the host. The chair will announce opportunities for the public to speak, which are included on the meeting agenda. Please adhere to the speaker time limit. For those on Zoom, if you would like to make public comment, please click on the raise hand feature to signal that you would like to comment during the public comment period. You will be unmuted. Please announce your name before speaking. For those calling in using the phone line only who wish to comment, dial *9 on your keypad to signal that you would like to comment. Please announce your name before speaking. Decorum. Please treat others with courtesy, civility, and respect. Rules prohibiting the use of signs or posters remain in effect for those participating by Zoom. Profanity, discriminatory comments, or obscene gestures is prohibited. Disorderly, unruly, or aggressive behavior that disrupts the good working order of the meeting is also prohibited. Any violation of the above rules for those attending virtually can result in your mic being muted, video feed shut off, or you being dropped from the meeting. Thank you. And we will begin. Welcome. And I would like to start with introductions with the ones in attendance. Starting with Amy.
Amy Smalley, South Kitsap.
John Pearson, Central Kitsap.
Just push the button. Wait a minute. Nancy Whitaker, Central Kitsap.
The rest of the park board on Zoom.
Lisa Hurd, North Kitsap.
Larry Walker, South Kitsap.
And now staff, starting with Alex.
Alex Newski, Kitsap County Parks.
Chuck Cazzetto, Kitsap County Parks, Public Relations and Communications Coordinator.
Sierra Cross, Kitsap County Parks.
Alex Hardy, Marketing and Events.
Aaron Nix, Planner.
Eric Arneson, Natural Research Coordinator.
Welcome. Okay. Thank you all. We would like to have a motion to adopt the May 17th meeting minutes of 2023.
So moved, Larry Walker.
Are there any objections or additions?
I wasn't here. It doesn't say whether it was.
Okay, so you were absent. Okay, we can make that change. Are there any other changes?
We don't typically list who didn't attend. If that's a new practice that you want to include, we can do that. At least for the last year.
Okay, so just those in it.
Are listed.
Is there a second to this motion?
I'll second it.
Thank you, John. Okay, at this time, we have public comments. Oh, I'm sorry. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. The adoption of the May 17th minutes. Now we'll go to public comments. And we'll start with the folks in the building. Okay, Joe.
See, can you all hear me? My name is Joe Lubisher. I live in Indianola, and I'll email you these comments, Alex, to get them in the record, please. So at your last meeting, Carol Price proposed that a portion of Port Gamble Forest Heritage Park be dedicated to restoration and conservation. So we've had more conversations about that, and I would like to second that idea, but move it to a wider application. And the fact that the pros update consultants is here today is most appropriate. So heritage parks in particular are noted for being primarily undeveloped, environmentally sensitive areas that can be preserved or enhanced. And currently, the PROS plan has several goals seeking to protect and steward the environment, wildlife, and habitat. It devotes a full 6 pages, almost 15% of the document, towards specifying those goals, objectives, and strategies. However, there is a lack of useful benchmarks or guidelines to achieve those goals. And nor has the corridor effect, that is the disturbance of roads and trails and wildlife, been taken into account. So the proposal is at this point pretty simple. It's that we define, set aside 100% of each heritage park as wildlife refuge areas. And to do so in blocks of not less than 160 acres. And those areas, of course, would need to be selected and, focus on areas important to wildlife, streams, wetlands, old forest areas, meadows, what have you. Can this be done? And yes, quite easily. Management wise, you've already got the landscape classifications, and you can use the natural area classification as a way to do that. At North Kitsap Heritage Park, just to offer examples, North Kitsap Heritage Park, the north side of the park already meets that requirement. Relative percentage from area. At Port Gamble Forest Heritage Park, which is 3,337 acres. That park right now has been really divided up. You don't have a segment, you don't have any areas much bigger than 40 acres. But there's obviously a lot of potential, by eliminating a few roads and trails to create some aggregated, useful sized areas. So I would like to see this proposal put forth as part of the PROS plan update. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. I would like to invite the next speaker. Marion Allen. I live in Paulsville. Half the time I live in Port Gamble Forest. I just want to say first that I belong to a group of Kitsap native plant lovers. We just started recently. We have already 800 people, and we spend lots of time in the forest here. And I've led many hikes through the forest this year, so here our parks are getting well loved. But the comment that I have is just regarding the event that was at the mountain bikes event in June at Port Gamble Forest Park. And I had originally asked the event person, how much are this group getting charged to use the park? And I got an answer from that person that said nothing, because their event is not in the park and everybody is allowed to use the park, which naturally the event was in the park, even though it started out at Rainier, where they were charged $75 for admission, $75 for being allowed to have some lessons in the park, and plus alcohol and food trucks were present on Rainier property. But So my question then was, maybe we need to review what our permit system is. And what I also found out was I went for a hike that Saturday, and there was a EMBA vehicle coming into the park. And I thought, well, I wonder what they're doing in the park, because they're not supposed to be in the park. And I continued on my hike, and pretty soon another van was coming the opposite direction. And I thought, I'm gonna look into this, and I went up to the right part, and there were two signs: shuttle bus pickup, shuttle bus drop off. And I thought, why do mountain bikers need a shuttle bus? I thought that was odd. Anyway, so I did report that to Alex, and he answered me, and I hope that it sounds like the county did not know this was happening, which kind of leads me to maybe mistrust the EMBA group a little bit, or maybe they weren't telling the whole of their story. There was also a whole set of things up in the parking area, which is also in the county, on the county property, correct? That's a public parking area that's going to be up at the parking, right?
What?
That open area.
Oh, that's in the park.
That's in the parking. So there was all sorts of music and various things. I didn't go check it out, but coming from there, I'm sure they had a safety crew or whatever there, but anyways, I just would like to be reviewed and stuff, and I don't know if there's been any. Thank you. Thank you. Do we have any more speakers in the house that would like to speak tonight? How about online? Do we have anyone who would like to talk?
We do, and John Willett, the Sports and Safety and Ed Association, is allowed to talk.
Okay, go ahead, John.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk with the board today. I have a proposal for the board to come and support something that I think is very essential for the Port Gamble Heritage Park. Right now, as you might know, that the Pope and Talbot, or now Rainier, is planning to develop the city or the town of Port Gamble in a historic fashion, 300 homes plus condominiums and stuff like that. I think I got that right, Linda. I'm not quite sure. But there's going to be a lot of people there in the town. There's going to be a lot of people consequently in the park, a lot more than there are today, as you all know, and we're trying to plan for that. One of the things I'm really concerned about is I think we need a fire station in Port Gamble again. Historically, there was a fire station there that would take care of, the town. Well, now we not only have thousands of people that are going to be in the town, we're going to have hundreds of people in the park. Right now, the closest station in the Poulsbo district, which Port Gamble is part of the Poulsbo district, not Kingston, it is all out on Falls Road, and that is over 7 minutes away. And especially if you have Hood Canal traffic, that you are over the limit of what you would recommend for response times to the park or to the town of Port Gamble. So I'm hoping that the board here, the park board, and I've already talked to the commissioners. Of course, we've got a new commissioner now, commissioners. And I was hoping that the board of Kitsap County Parks would come and then write a letter to the commissioners and Alex and the county parks director that you are in support of putting a fire station at Port Gamble. And then what I've offered to the people that are developing that, John Rose and those people, is that could be all funded by impact fees. And so that there would not really be a big taxation possibly on your local people, meaning us taxpayers, or a park fee or anything like that, but impact fees for all the new homes and the condos and stuff could probably take care of that couple $1 million for a new park. And that, I mean, a new fire station. So I would appreciate if you look into that and possibly write a letter in support. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there any other public comments from the Zoom?
And Carol Price has her hand up and has been allowed to talk.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry to see Aaron Nix go. I just want to get that out. You're going to be missed, Aaron. I can only reiterate the point that Joe Lubisher already made. You know, 1/5 of Port Gamble Forest Heritage Park is 700 acres. And I think that nature deserves that. My second comment is that Kitsap County Parks has now lost 3 vital staff members: the forester, the Kitsap Parks planner, and capital projects persons. Have these positions been advertised yet? And if not, when will you be advertising for them? Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Okay, Alex will respond.
When I'll be talking about the some of the position changes that are going on a little bit later, but with regards to positions advertised, the Natural Resources Program Supervisor, which currently doubles as the forester position, is advertised, and our Capital Project Specialist position is also advertised currently. The planner position is being looked at by our Human Resources Department for a reclassification. And once that study is done, then that one will be re-advertised. And we just a primer for later, we're looking to add another position to our Natural Resources Program. I'll touch on that a little bit later.
Thank you, Alex. And we have a special presentation of the pros plan.
Correct. And we have Chris Oberdorf here from SCJ Alliance. He's going to provide a couple different things, and updates, explanation on the plan, the timeline for our pros plan effort, as well as an opportunity for a little bit of question and answer, open discussion to get some feedback from the board members. In advance of that super brief introduction, I would like Aaron Nix to provide any more thoughts on the pros plan that you may have, as well as anything else you want to say about Chris and SCJ. As Carol mentioned earlier, Aaron has accepted a new position and will be departing Kitsap County Parks. Actually, this Friday is his final day with us. He's accepted a pretty amazing position with the city of Shelton. And we are very sad to see him go, but happy for this good opportunity for Aaron and his family. Instead of a 2-hour commute, he will chop that down to 10 minutes. So good for you, Aaron. Aaron, you want to say a couple things?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, guys. I appreciate all of that discussion. I just want to say that we are on the kind of the precipice of really some, I think, some good and significant changes, at least with regard to the way that Kitsap County manages its park system. I think a lot of the things that are being discussed, I noted Mr. Lubisher's comment. I think there's a significant pull within the county to kind of identify those types of areas that are kind of left alone areas. And I think there's some very positive things. Obviously, the county has a lot of things that it's going to face financially, at least from a parks perspective. I think what you're going to find, at least in the pros plan, we are pretty underfunded when you compare us to other counties of similar size. And I think that that's going to be a big issue. Also, a lot of the land purchases that we've done have been awesome. I am totally on board with that, but we've also sacrificed some other things as far as the existing infrastructure. I think you're going to see that in the pros plan. So I'm not going to go into great detail. Chris is really the expert as far as this. He's a good man. I think he will take you guys in the direction that you want to head. I think, and he'll get into this a bit, there is a lot of interest in Kitsap County parks, clearly. And he will explain how that has happened. Obviously, you guys know we have a survey out and it's been pretty overwhelming, the amount of responses we've gotten. So without further ado, Chris, please go for it.
Thanks, Aaron. Can everybody hear me okay? And you can see the screen that I'm sharing with the cover slide. So, okay, perfect. Thank you. So yeah, what I'm going to do today is just really quickly go through the sort of the work plan that we have started. We worked out with county staff, and that we've been implementing over the last actually a few months now. And it really comes down to sort of 6 key phases of work. Some of them are actually running concurrently, and that's, you know, planning, context, goals, and objectives. And I really appreciated like Joe's comment about the need for metrics. And that's something that we have identified out of the last pros plan to understand that let's get some sort of trackable, measurable, goals and objectives that we can make sure that this current plan or this new plan is going to be able to track for its own performance. But we're still going through like an inventory and assessment phase of we've spent some time with staff. We toured a bunch of the parks. We listened, took down a lot of notes, and now we're sort of pulling together a draft inventory and assessment packet that we can then kick back to everybody, including the board members here for review and validation. And then obviously I think the public involvement, that sort of phase 3, that's ongoing. Hopefully everybody here has been able to fill out that first survey. But that's really phase 3, the public involvement phase, is really the cornerstone of a good successful pros plan, because ultimately it comes down to, like, you know, not just like how the park system can better be operated, managed, you know, but it's really like the improvements that are needed to address the county's, you know, the citizens' sort of desired quality of life. And that's really the goal that we have for the entire public involvement piece. And then after we get a little deeper into public involvement, we'll get into demand and needs. And then finally come up with a series of draft capital improvements and potential costs, and identify what the O&M impacts and are going to be for a proposed set of capital improvements. And then we button everything up into a final plan, you know, and we're getting this done by the beginning of Q2 of next year. And really that first, we're really heading into the meat of the plan. We're sort of halfway through July right now. And I just wanted to reiterate that these different phases are on purpose, and it's to ensure that this plan and what comes out of it is going to be Growth Management Act compliant and RTO, which is the Recreation and Conservation Office certified, you know, pros plan. So you've got an implementable, you know, performance-based, action-based pros plan, park rec and open space plan that you can help to carry forward into the future. But yes, and currently, you know, aside from like some major sort of action items, you know, updating the final sort of report template that, so we've got something to start putting everything together, because when we send you draft pieces of the initial goals and objectives and the inventory and assessment, you're going to sort of see them in a draft form already. And we're, like I said before, we're finishing up the inventory and assessment updates. And we're also going to be continuing, stakeholder interviews. And we've got some upcoming interviews with the county commissioners and other groups that we're getting scheduled right now. And you can sort of see on the graphic on the right, in our contract, we talked about two major sort of survey points. We've actually added a third. We've got this initial needs assessment survey, which is live now. And then that will lead into a project visioning, which will be a map-based tool that people can go to like online and actually draw, like identify, here's that 100, here's a perfect 160 acre, target for conservation or, open space, preservation. Here's this trail system, a trail connection that we want to see made. We want to get the public to not just tell us we want more open space, but sort of where and how are we going to connect people to those places? How are we going to get people safely to the parks? How are we going to provide all the different programs and services that the public is asking for? And then finally, and this is the last little piece, I think later this year, as we get into that capital improvement program, we're proposing that we actually kick out a third survey, and that will allow everybody to help prioritize what those projects that are going to go into the capital improvement program will be. And think of it like you're given 100 park dollars, and project number 1 costs $5, project number 2 costs 25, and we go through this long list. And this will allow everybody to help to prioritize and state exactly what they would do if they had that money. And then that really provides a very robust public engagement plan. I mean, and we're not just doing it online. We're going to be doing interviews in person. We're going to have, we're trying to get some in the park sort of workshops sort of scheduled with Chuck and Alex and everybody else. But so that's where we are right now, really, with the needs and assessment survey. And actually what I'd like to do is kick over and give a quick little preview for that survey and the results to date. And just to remind everybody, that needs assessment survey, there was a series of questions that was asked, and it was really trying to capture how people, how an individual constituent, a resident of Kitsap County, or a visitor, what parks they go to, what, number one, where they live, what, some demographic information about who they are, and then what parks do they go to the most, and sort of why, and what we'd like to see more of, and things like that. And so we really want to make this a personal collection of people's, connections to these parks and places and landscapes. So there was, a series of questions getting into park use, how frequently use the different counties' heritage parks, and all the different park types, and then getting down to, the length of time for the visits, favorite seasons, when that's happening, what kind of recreation facilities do they use most, so that can be something that's not park dependent, and then activities that they may not be getting in the county or that they may travel outside of the county for. Again, we're trying to capture a better sense of what how people want to engage in a park and rec system, you know, in Kitsap County. And then what are the barriers that are preventing them to use the parks? And then the big one is sort of that park and rec need. Agreeing or disagreeing that Kitsap County needs more or less of, you know, a pretty wide range of elements. And then some final questions that really are a little bit more open-ended, which I think are really, really telling is, you know, really what updates would you, other things you would like to see added to the system. Tell us something you love about Kitsap County. And then, you know, options to be added to the mailing list. You know, to date, we've had it open for about 2 weeks now. Well, 22 days, so 3 weeks. We've had 801 complete responses. We've actually had, when I generated this report, there's actually been a total of 1,123 responses, which includes partial responses. And you can sort of see that people are starting to drop off after that second page and getting into a little bit of drop off after the third page. But generally we're getting, you know, more than 70% completed, full completed surveys, which is great. And, you know, we can even sort of see, you know, there's been a pretty wide distribution since we've got people, you know, part of the challenge with trying to put a survey like this out in the summer, you got people on vacation, they're out there, they're visiting family, that kind of, you know, that kind of thing. And so you can sort of see like we've got a distribution of, you know, even somebody from Germany, France, and Portugal that have taken the survey, you know, while they've been away from Kitsap, from the county. And then, again, oh, actually somebody, 1,124 total. So 801 completed and with 323 partial. We're getting a pretty good distribution of, you know, 30, almost 37% of the people that have taken the survey are from unincorporated Kitsap County. You know, 11.4% from Bainbridge, about 20% from Bremerton, 13% from Port Orchard, 16% from Polko, and 2.6 don't live in Kitsap, but they visit for recreation. So that's a good distribution of, and that's actually something that we want to see. We want to make sure that we're grabbing, we're getting responses across all sort of demographics, all locations across the county, and they're not like, if all of the responses or a heavy majority of the responses that were coming from like Bainbridge Island or Bremerton, we would actually want to go back and retool and work with Chuck and the rest of the staff to help to better advertise the survey to other parts of the county. So the staff is doing a great job getting the word out, and we're hoping to, we want more. So if you know people that haven't taken it, we want to make sure that they do take it. Age range, the one thing it is, nobody under ages 20 has responded to this, which is, if you think about with families being out on vacation and kids and making sure that the parents actually can get their kids to engage in this survey. That hasn't happened that much, but again, we're not seeing a massive, you know, age-based response. Obviously, that 55 to 69 is the largest, followed by 40 to 54, and then and actually tied with 70 and older. And then we actually would like to see I think that's one of the things we're going to be working on, is trying to see what we can do to increase the engagement with younger populations. Household size, 68% 1 to 2, 3 to 4. This is actually quite, I think, quite telling about the frequency of how people are using the different parks. And obviously, like Coulter Creek is so recent, there just hasn't been a lot of activity there. There's obviously access issues to certain parks. And yeah, it's this is good information though. Typical visit is 1 to 2 hours, and that's sort of typical. I think this is actually really good. 2 to 3 hour. A third saying that it's 2 to 3 hours. That's actually pretty good compared to. Not surprising though, considering the amount of like open space and natural areas that are in the county. And favorite time to visit, obviously, it's actually spring and summer. That's no big surprise. And this is what I think this is when we're starting to get down into the meat of the matter. Is the type of recreation facilities that are used the most. It is that sort of passive nature trails, open space, trail and path work. That's a heavy response rate. And with, and it's great to see, and the need for more sort of support elements, picnic shelters, resting areas, those kind of amenities that are part of a, overall a large, connected county park system. A good amount of responses for, the event facilities which is real, like the fairgrounds primarily, and kind of activities that people do travel outside of the county. That's also like the walking and biking path, which means that there's a really large, and again, this is no surprise, but a large population base that's really about sort of passive recreation and bird watching and more sort of heritage and environmental interpretation kind of activities. Barriers is sort of, I think, one of the things we are sort of seeing is that they're sort of unsure which parks are nearby and which ones are accessible and so forth. A lot of, obviously, and this is no surprise, there's always, people, they want more restrooms, especially when you start looking at that duration. If somebody's out in the park for, 1 to 2, to 1 to 3 hours, eventually you're the call for nature happens, and then some safety and security issues, and then and then we start getting into agree or disagree that you need more of the following. It's more waterfront access, more habitat diversity, heritage, nature interpretation. It's and then right in the meat of the middle is this, you start getting into more of the active play, adult soccer fields, baseball, youth baseball. They're all sort of similar in terms of really close, considering the percentages of responses that we've gotten. And then yeah, I mean, generally there's not, I mean, this is sort of interesting. We'll obviously be supplying this as a with a lot of detail that people can actually get to. And then I think the Wait for this one to load. Ready for the following. Sorry. Those are all the mobile answers that came in here. And so then you start getting into the public comments, pleased with the parks improved communications with the public. But, I think one of the things that we're starting to see in the comment section is the desire for more programs, historical, cultural education, interpretive program, need for more natural areas, and so forth, more trail maps, safer environments. Pickleball is always going to be that desire. Actually, this is a really good question, and I'd love to talk to this person, about how the use is totally dependent on population, and that the questions in the survey were wrong. I actually think that what we're trying to get to, we're not trying to get to a summary population response to these. We're trying to capture what everybody's individual voices are. Eventually, we will get to those more grand summative population narratives and findings, but there were actually had some good ideas about the Children's Outdoor Bill of Rights that the state of Montana has developed. So there's some interesting things that we can pull out of all of these comments. And same thing about what they love living and playing in Kitsap County for, so many opportunities for outdoor recreation, and especially the gorgeous mountain trees, water everywhere, convenient but close to nature, beautiful scenery, not too crowded, plants and wildlife. There's some very sort of themes, very consistent themes that when you start looking at all of the actual individual comments that are coming in from people, that help to reinforce what we're seeing in the survey. So, and so I'm going to use the last little bit if I can. Well, first of all, I get, is there any questions about the public engagement to date in the survey? Because I would like to spend a little bit of time and sort of go around to the commissioners and sort of poll you, do a quick little mock interview of, what do you see the goals and objectives coming out of this PROS plan, and how do you think we can best sort of support them? So I'll sort of leave it at that.
So I'm curious how this was distributed, because 1,000 responses seems like a really tiny amount for the size of our population.
I'm sorry. Well, the tiny amount for the population. Yeah, this is we're a couple weeks into this, and I don't know, Chuck, if you wanted to make mention of like how this has been distributed to date. And this is not over. We're sort of halfway through the period for this. It actually runs through, letting it run through August 11th. And yeah, so we have a lot more to collect on this.
Yeah, Chris, I'm happy to jump in. This is Chuck Cazzetto here. So far, we distributed across multiple platforms as far as social media, and not only the Parks Department's internal email system as far as outreach goes, which is called Gov Delivery, but also we've utilized the county as a whole. So they have a user database or email database of people that subscribe to certain newsletters. So they call it the front page, meaning it goes out to everybody. So I can provide those analytics to you. I don't have them right in front of me, but I'd be happy to compile a final report and either send that out offline or at the next PAB meeting. But it's gone out twice via Gov Delivery to the general populace via email. And then it's also gone out via Volgistics. I believe Sierra's team sent that out to all of the volunteers. So we're canvassing as much as we can. And then also the flyer that you saw is going to have a QR code on it that will be distributed at all the parks, kiosks, and different tabling and volunteer events that we'll be having. The survey itself is scheduled to run through July, but we're also prepared to extend that date. I mean, we definitely want a great response based on our population compared to some others. At a minimum, we'd like to see, 3 grand in total responses, but we definitely want to shoot higher than that. I think we're seeing spikes here and there as far as response rates. Looks like Chris has that pulled up right there. So you can see that the trend is only going upward at this point in time. So we're definitely going to be hitting it hard. We have a marketing plan and strategy just to highlight not just the pros plan, but the work we're doing in general to kind of keep people involved, interested, and actively knowing all the things that we're doing and what we can do to improve our park system. Does that help to answer the question?
Yeah, I guess it does.
Thank you.
I have more questions about that exact topic. In some of the wording that you posted on the pros plan stuff, it said we gave the public ample opportunity to be involved in plan development. That worries me because I've read that. It's like a deja vu I'm having here. Because I have not, I'm on the Park Advisory Board and I have not received a survey, and I'm out at the parks all the time and I am not on social media. I work all of the time. So for people that work all of the time, how are they going to get the opportunity to fill out these surveys? I mean, really, it's like, I'm already just like going, what? You've done what? And it's going to be over in July, even though you just said you're going to give more time, but which is good because I think, like we said, the numbers are low. There's a huge amount of people in this county that wouldn't even have say as to what's going on here. So I'm concerned about that, the timeline here and who's actually getting say in this survey, because this has happened before.
Yeah, this is Chuck here. I'll jump in again. We have also partnered with different, the flyers will definitely be out at the kiosk. So if you're out at the parks, you should see those going up relatively soon here. So people have the opportunity to scan the QR code if they have the capability of that. And then we've also partnered or used some of our different partner groups to help get the word out, such as the Greater Kitsap Chamber, who's also helping to distribute the information, as well as the Kitsap Living, to see if we can canvass their database to get the information out as well. We will have ideally coming up at some of the Summer Sounds events, a table, and I've also provided some flyers for the Chamber of Commerce, who's putting on Whaling Days, to engage with other constituents to make sure that they're providing the information to get the feedback needed for the pros plan. But we're definitely open for other ideas, Lisa.
Yeah, how about groups like Audubon and there's like walking clubs, dog walking people, different organizations, I would say, especially like bird watching organizations, Audubon, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, we're definitely compiling a list of stakeholder groups, which I think that those would potentially fall under. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chris. But a lot of that feedback will be garnered through those stakeholder group meetings themselves. But I'm happy to really dig in a little further and see what kind of groups we can do some outreach with prior to those stakeholder meetings. And if anybody has any ideas, feel free to shoot them over to myself or Alex. I'll definitely drop my email into the chat here, but any groups we can get a hold of to see if they can help to distribute those as well would be definitely helpful.
Yeah, that would be. All right, thank you.
Yep.
That's Slow Wilderness group, mountain bikers group. There's a lot of outdoor the bike group that's based in Bremerton. Sorry about that.
I also had a question. I was concerned. I did just pull up my email because the first time I noticed it was July 14th, and I I was pretty horrified that I'd seen it July 14th and it was gonna close at the end of July because, you know, in our region, all us outdoor people are madly vacationing as soon as the weather gets good. And, you know, so that July and August, especially for families, it's, you know, reaching out to younger families, reaching out to people of different ages. You know, when I look at this, it looked, you know, I was trying to take some quick images, so you were going real fast, and I understand that because you've got a tight timeline here. But it looked to me like we were, so far the recipients are, or the responders are 60% or over 55. And I know I'm, you know, one of those, but it's really important that our data reflects the overall population and that we really work at getting younger people and families. And, you know, I know 20-somethings are really hard to get, but if we don't get them, I think that we're going to need to modify the data so that it reflects people accurately. I was surprised as you went through that Hansville was an area with a large response. And, you know, that's not a metropolitan center in Kitsap County. I saw Hansville on the list, but not, you know, Paulsville, which is a much bigger area. So I'm just a little concerned about skewing the data to be older people that are, you know, and missing people. And I also think that if it's going to be August 11th or through the end of August or whatever, that information should go out right away. I'm a board member of the North Kitsap Trails Association. We were going to do a newsletter and feature it, but, you know, whether people have a week or whether people have a month matters. And I'd like to get consistent information, because I know I'm on a lot of databases. The first time I came into my inbox was July 8th. Most of them arrived just last week. I got several July 14th.
Thank you.
Great. This is Chuck. I'll just jump in again. We have also leverage for those younger groups. There's different outlets as far as Macaroni Kid, which is mainly parents of young children that subscribe to a newsletter of Kitsap County. They're kind of all over the place. They have them in Gig Harbor. They're a general what's happening where information mailer and website. So we're definitely trying to garner any kind of outreach we can as far as those to balance out, like you said, the age differential and also the you know, the density of population. So again, if there's any thoughts out there as how to do a little more outreach, happy to hear them. But again, we do want all the information to be balanced.
I'm thinking, Chuck, what about Kitsap County Fairgrounds? I mean, you get so many people visiting the fairgrounds all the time, different ages, different children during the fair. It seems like that would be a great time to do it. You know, putting up signs, posters, you know, that would at least raise awareness. But again, the timeline just seems so short, because, you know, to contact that many people and to get the word out, it just seems like, you know, I don't feel like it's a real high priority, because again, we're all here on the board and we're just getting the information. So how are people that are working supposed to be hearing this, and their kids, and, you know, summer camp programs, all of that, and putting out, you know, like a red exclamation point, this is important information, we need it, kind of thing.
I definitely agree. I think you know, we've already had internal conversations as far as this being extended. We got we were late in the game to getting it out, you know, second week of July, and that's unfortunate, but we're definitely going to do everything we can to rectify that. I will mention we also reached out to, we have RecDesk, which is our new software application as far as bookings go. So we've utilized that platform as well for all the bookings, but the flyers will go up at the different picnic shelters, kiosks, pavilions, at the fairgrounds and both our parks in general. So
when?
What's that?
When?
Ideally, those are being put up this week. So.
But this is the 19th. So for people that receive it and say that it closes at the end of the month, you know, if they don't see it till Monday, you know, they'll feel like they've got a week.
Yeah.
I'm going to step in here real quick. The timeline for the survey is currently scheduled for 4 weeks. It came out on July 17th. It's scheduled through the first week of August. This is only one opportunity for participation in the PROS plan process. And this survey is just a baseline level structured on how are you currently using Kitsap County parks. This will feed into a second survey that is intended to come out after this one is done, that will really be focused on what kind of I view is part of the more important component, and that is, what do you want to see in your Kitsap County parks as we evolve, grow, and progress into the future? What does that look like? Where are we hitting the mark and where are we missing it? Those are the components and the feedback that are really going to help define the goals and objectives that come out of this, so that we are making sure that we're aligning the future progress of Kitsap County parks with the needs and the demands of the community. We want to make sure that our department remains relevant to the community, and in order to do that, we need to make sure that the direction that we're going in is aligned with where the community wants to see us go. In addition to the 2 surveys, these are not the sole opportunities for participation as well. We, as mentioned a number of times here, we'll be calling together representatives from a whole slew of community stakeholder groups. We'll conduct those not in surveys, but we're conducting those as focus group, kind of open conversation opportunities to have interviews, not proposed, but led by the consultants to gain information back from these various stakeholder groups. We have kind of begun to identify these groups and group them into different focus areas: athletics, the environment, events and facility rentals, volunteers, and our stewardship groups are one, et cetera, et cetera. There's a whole handful of them. In addition to that, we are setting up 2 different interviews with the county commissioners, and on and on. In addition to that, the kind of promotion piece of this, you know, Chuck did mention we did get, you know, kind of a late running start here, but we're doing our best to move this forward as quickly as we can. Chuck's got a plan where we are pushing this out in a variety of different ways via the county's gov delivery system that goes out to the entire county of everybody who's prescribed to this. It goes out to our parks subscribers, and then the listserv that's captured through Logistics, which is all of our volunteer database, through Rec Desk, which is our recreation. It's our pro platform that we use for facility rentals. So that is another listserv that it's going out to. We have this stakeholder group, and we are sharing it out with other parks and recreation agencies in the area: City of Hillsborough, City of Bremerton, the 2 MPDs, the Metropolitan Parks Districts on Bainbridge and Kingston, City of Port Orchard. So we're doing our darndest to push this out as much as possible, to gain some momentum, to get feedback. And get excitement and get involvement and engagement. Again, not only in just the survey, but there will be other ways in which the community will be participating. I hope that helps. It's a lot, and yeah, thanks.
Alex, what was the deadline then? If we were I was gonna send out a newsletter. We have a newsletter, goes to about 800 people. Is it the end of July, or did you say it was August 11th, or did I miss that?
Yeah, I had said August 11th, which is sort of that 4-month or 4-week window from when the survey initially started. And I do want to take a quick moment to, this survey is, and then the survey that's going to follow it, they can actually be running concurrently. We can keep this open much longer. And part of the reason for we're monitoring the survey so that we can identify where those gaps are. Like we're not getting we're not getting we're not getting responses back from the kids. So what can we do to sort of bolster that? I mean, if it was, that's the purpose of the survey and the monitoring, is to make sure that we can continually sort of right size and nudge this in the right direction as we continue to move forward. And if we have to leave it open longer, then we will. And then we'll augment, we'll use this information to help to augment that second phase of the survey to make that and take some lessons learned on this one into that next one so we can be even more productive. And Alex, I'm sorry, I do need to step off though.
So have you done anything to reach out to the Navy? I mean, we've got a large population here. They're somewhat transient, but they do take advantage. And I volunteered at Newberry Hill with Navy personnel that come out and help. They have a recreation department. What's it called? Somebody was in the military. They have a recreation department on the bases where they can rent sports equipment and stuff. I think that would be a good place, and also the YMCA's in the county.
This is Chuck again. I'll just mention that we have reached out to I'm going to mispronounce this as always, but the ombudsman, which we were presented at about a month or two ago. And that's just the people, what's happening where, as far as the Navy officials go. So we have reached out to them, but we'll further dig in. And I like the proactive approach to reaching out to the YMCA's in different areas. We also plan on getting the flyers up to the local libraries. That way, families that are using the library will have an opportunity to use that information.
I just wanted to say, I'm sorry, I need to drop off, but I really appreciate everybody's input on this. And this is the first time we're doing this together, so we're definitely going to make improvements as we go. Thank you all.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. We're going with department structure and staffing.
Thanks, Ryan. I'm going to share my screen, so bear with me for just a moment. All right. Can everyone see this on the screen share?
Yes.
Okay, great. So before we jump into this, I do want to apologize for everybody who's in the room here for how awfully hot it is. As you will recall, based on the previous presentations for around our capital improvement plan, we don't have a working or functioning HVAC system or air conditioner in the Eagle's Nest here, both for upstairs in the meeting room and for downstairs in our Parks Department offices. We did just get our capital plan updated, reallotment of funds, and we're moving forward with a replacement of the HVAC, but it'll be a few months before we land there. In the meantime, yeah, it's hot here. Zoom might be the way to go for that purpose. Okay, moving on. I wanted to provide an update for kind of the ongoing evolution of Parks Department and our staffing structure. If you will recall, for those who were on the advisory board a couple of years ago, when I first started in 2021, the department has since gone through kind of 2 phases of some staffing changes. And this slide may look familiar to you. It's the exact same slideshow here. And I'm going to kind of walk through this, not the entire history of everything that we've done since 21, but just really what we are moving towards in 23, in this upcoming mid-year timeframe that we find ourselves in. So this represents where we were at the beginning of 21. I shared this back then, and I'm going to kind of race through some of the changes that the department went through. And this slide here is where we landed at the end of 2021. This was an effort to reorganize the operations within the department. This is not a representative representation of staffing. It's more of the focus areas or programs that make up the Parks Department. This year, and we are looking to enact a couple more changes. One of them is looking to take our capital projects program and our planning program and combine those together, which would end up looking like this. This is I mentioned earlier, we are currently having our planner position go through a reclassification study with the Human Resources Department. This is part of that effort. We intend to utilize the planner position to supervise our capital projects specialist position, by which we would be combining the 2 programs. I'll take it, what I've learned in the last couple of years is there is a lot of overlap between planning and capital projects, and there is opportunity for both of these positions to lead capital projects and do things that are like and similar, and thus to kind of create efficiencies and make us more effective. Combining these into a singular team is going to hopefully position us for a better future, and that is kind of what we're looking to do. So this is where we are headed upon the reclassification study at a programmatic view. Moving into the staffing structure, again, racing through all the changes that we made in 2021 and into 2022, where we added new maintenance staff, moved some positions and reassigned some things. This is where we ended up. And I know that this is a little bit challenging to read, but it basically aligns with the programmatic structure that we looked at before. Very similarly, this 2 arrows are pointing to our capital projects position and our planner position, basically showing that we're looking to combine those and elevate the planner position into a supervisory role, which would then reshift the kind of functionality of that program. And that is in process. The last thing I want to draw attention to, and this kind of goes part and parcel to the question that Carol Price had earlier about filling vacancies. We are looking to add a new position into the department in our natural resources program. This is a standalone forester position. And you can, yes, after saying that, I'll look at me sideways and say, didn't we already have a forester position? The answer is yes, but when the position was created 10 years ago, it was classified at a different level. And then when we created the Natural Resources Division in 2021, that position also took on the responsibility of overseeing the Natural Resources program in the Parks Department. What we are proposing to do here is to separate the forestry management duties from the kind of overall supervisory management duties of the Natural Resources Department or division within the Parks Department, and to allow to create capacity. So instead of having those as one job, all in one, we're going to continue to have a forester position dedicated to carrying out and doing contract oversight to conduct the ecologically based selective thinning that we do in our park properties. This will then free up capacity and time in the natural resources supervisor position to perform a higher level of supervision over our natural resources coordinators program, which includes our volunteer program, our stewardship groups, et cetera, as well as to kind of envision and evolve that component of the department. I mean, as everybody knows here, managing the open space, our natural resources is extremely important to the Parks Department. Over 75% of total acreage of our park system is undeveloped. It is open space. It is natural areas. And until 2021, the department didn't even have a natural resources focused program. We have since created that, and now we're looking to kind of take it to the next level by creating some staff capacity to better envision what it is we want to do here in terms of management and oversight of these parks, these components of our parks, and create policies, create procedures, create management plans, and help carry out the implementation. So you may have noticed in the June director's report, I had a little blurb in there about the Parks Department had initially taken forth a request to add 3 new positions into the department, 2 new maintenance and operation worker positions in our M&O program, and 1 more natural resources coordinator position, which would give us a 4th. The reason behind these 3 additions was twofold. One was the parking lots, the trailheads, the ride park, and associated support systems that are coming online at Port Gamble Forest Heritage Park. Those are going to require additional maintenance and support at the staffing level that we know that we're already currently struggling with maintaining current levels. So we asked for 2 more M&O workers to help facilitate these new recreation assets that are coming online. The natural resources coordinator position, we premised that request based on a different blurb that was also in the June director's report, and that is the update on the Eglon Forest, and that is we have heard back from the state of Washington. Their budget has been approved, and this program has been supported by the state legislature. That means that the Eglon Forest, 706 acres of it, will become Kitsap County parkland in the coming future. It will take a bit of time for that transfer to fully transpire, at least a year, approximately 12 months or plus, give or take. We'll see kind of how long it takes to work with the state on that. But with the kind of addition of another 706 acres, we know coming with that is the need for additional maintenance management of those acres. We know that there is a high level of interest in the community already. So the formation of another stewardship group dedicated to that park will be paramount. And all of that oversight takes staff time. And so we I think had a very good case to make. The challenge was that the budget source was the county's general fund for those 3 positions. And we were basically not recommended to, those were not approved. We'll just put it that way. So then the question becomes, how are we getting this position? This forester position, we are proposing to fund it out of the forestry fund. So our forestry program, which does the selective thinning in our parks, is structured when it was created a decade ago to be kind of its own economic turnkey operation. And while its focus is not on raising revenue or raising dollars by the removal of trees in the park, the focus is on improving forest health, improving the ecological status of our outdoor systems. There is a byproduct of doing that, and that is through the selective thinning. We are removing some timber from the parks that does get sold, and it does generate funding that comes back and stays with the department. It does not get rerouted back into the county's general fund. For the first 8 years that this program was in operation through 2020, the program barely made enough money to cover its own costs. That means that the revenues that were generated from the sale of the timber from the selective thinning barely covered the cost of the staff member who managed the program, that person's vehicle, that person's benefits, that person's administrative needs and internal costs back to the county. However, in 2020, 2021, lumber value started to rise. And with that, by no increase in volume of thinning activity, the revenues coming back to the department also started to rise. And so we have, over the last 2 years, generated a surplus of revenue funds, and based on the budget office's kind of view and projection of the program, it looks stable enough to sustain affording a second position out of that fund. So we would be looking at both funding the Natural Resources Program Supervisor, which is currently funded 100% out of that, and now creating and funding the secondary position, the forester position, out of that fund as well. And of course, both of those are focused and premised on supporting back into the Natural Resources Program, so that money kind of stays within that program. And so that is kind of the basis of the whole story that I wanted to share tonight. We're excited for this. We shared this with the county commissioners this morning. We needed their review and approval of this proposal before moving it forward. And they enthusiastically approved and supported the concept of looking at utilizing the forestry fund to support a second position that is purposed with creating capacity so we can expand and evolve the Natural Resources Program within the Parks Department. And that long-winded speech kind of wraps up what I wanted to share with you with regards to this kind of evolving department structure and this proposed change in staff. Of course, it's all still proposed because the reclassification of the planner has not happened yet. And this final approval for the secondary position out of the forestry fund has also not officially happened yet, but we are kind of trending in that direction. And questions on it?
Alex? Oh. I just wanted to mention, that there has been concern in the past about, from particularly the volunteers who are working in these heritage parks, that the staff have to essentially thin to pay their own salaries. And I just have to assume that doubling that cost is going to have a real potential impact on our parks. And I know for me, I've been concerned about, how are we going to diversify these forests? Are we going to start replanting some, different types of trees instead of the Doug firs? I know that particularly in Fort Gamble, that's in the contract unless the county was going to pay for the additional costs, and that takes planning. If we spend that revenue on staff, how does that work long run? And is it going to impact the potential of diversifying the forest over the long run?
So the cost of the diversifying of the forest, creating that forest health component through the selective thinning is factored into the program. Again, we are not proposing any changes to the program in terms of volume of number or quantity of trees thinned. That still remains the same. The benefit is that it is, honestly, it's bringing in money that allows us to expand our abilities within the natural resources program. This fund also frees up staffing capacity to put efforts to focus in other areas to create that diversity of forests, to study what is needed, to do the things that the past person who was kind of doing dual role did not have the opportunity to do.
Does that answer your question?
I'm just concerned, I was, I know I was on the city council in Paulsboro for a long time, and it just feels like maybe there's a temporary revenue surge and staffing up for that. I can understand the needs, and I'm disappointed that the commissioners didn't, fund the positions out of the general fund, because I know how strapped the county parks department is and how difficult it has been hiring. But I'm just concerned that, timber prices come up and down, revenues vary, and staff salaries will still be a constant. And so you'll have the forester team need to cut trees to preserve their own positions. And I know that's not the motivation, but it's concerning. And it's also concerning long run. Is this going to be sustainable to have two positions funded out of that?
Sure, understand the concern, and that was in part what staffing has the same concern as well, and that was part of wrapping in the county's finance and budget team to take a look at this and help analyze it as best as possible. And so we, in the end, made a decision to move forward in this fashion. We may have to shift in the future and look to do something different. This will also, and actually there was a question in the chat today, not similar to this topic specifically, but about the operating budget for the Parks Department. And this will be a heavy component of the PROS plan. The PROS plan is not just about what we're hearing from the community and understanding what do you want in your parks. It's also on the back end trying to make sure that we have the ability to align staffing, align resources, align budget, align funding to help meet that community demand and need that we are hearing that is getting called out in the PROS plan. So a component of the pros plan is also going to take a look at these two different variables and from a financial reflection, try and bridge that gap and say, how can we get there? What are the various financial tools available to us that could help ensure that we are being, in alignment with what we're hearing from the community. So in all of that, this type of program will be part of that evaluation process. So it is looking at it more not on the micro level of just this program, but kind of on a macro level, also saying, what are the other needs within the department? How might we financially accommodate those, knowing that there are limitations on the county's general fund, and that's kind of those tools, those answers can also help create buffer and offset needs, not just within the forestry program, if and when there is a fluctuation in wood value prices, but also in other areas of our program, the Parks Department, that can be impacted pretty severely by downturn in general fund revenues. So I completely understand what you're saying, and sometimes this isn't a perfect or exact science.
So I have a kind of a logical solution that I think we're overlooking, like the massive knowledge and skill base of the stewards that we have right now. And I have been hearing a lot of noise lately. A lot of people are quitting. And to me, that's concerning because they're very important. They're free. I mean, they give their time and energy and knowledge because of their passion for the forest and nature. And a lot of them feel like they're not being heard. They're not being refunded for monies they've spent out of their own pocket. They're putting in free labor and they're putting in their own money, and they are kind of being oversighted to death, if that's even a word, kind of redundant training. They, a lot of these people are in their 60s and older. They have more skills than most of us. And I think they're being treated like children. And I think a lot of them are offended and upset and are done. They just want to quit, and they have quit. People are leaving our Parks Department because of oversight, or I don't even know what the word would be, but no support, I think, is what it is. They're not being supported. And we're talking about how we can support the Parks Department in a whole way. And I think that a good way to do that would be to support the volunteers and the stewards. We're not paying these huge budgets for foresters and such like that, but we're actually, supporting the people that are actually willing to put in free labor. And that knowledge base is huge. We have professors and doctorates and engineers, and I mean, these retired people that are valuable. And it's sad to me to see them leave in such numbers right now. And so I just want to raise awareness about that and what's going on in the lower levels, because there's a lot of talk and a lot of discord right now. So I think we need to address it, or we're going to find ourselves in even more problems, having more problems in the future.
Thanks for the comment, Lisa. I'm not aware of any losses of volunteers. Actually, our volunteer numbers have been on the rise. We had over 45,000 hours of volunteer time logged in 2022, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there isn't discord or frustration among our volunteers who are working in the parks, and we certainly don't want that to be the result of the program that we're managing. So it will, look into that. In terms of, supporting the group, I mean, the Natural Resources Division, we added a third volunteer coordinator position to do just that, support the volunteer stewardship group. I'd say we're doing a better job having staff involvement and leading, helping lead the efforts of our stewardship groups than the department's done in the past. So it is growing as well. And happy to, if you have specific examples or something, I would appreciate hearing those offline.
Okay,
Just for the sake of privacy and such.
great. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Okay, moving ahead, we now will have the director's report.
All right. I've got a few items that I wanted to draw some attention to. Of course, I already talked about the department structure and staffing. I wanted to provide a brief update on the Point No Point Beach Rehabilitation Capital Project. This project has been evolving over time in terms of how it is going to kind of unfold. I think the last time we talked with the Parks Advisory Board a couple months ago, we had a kind of a three-phased approach based on the design that we got from our coastal engineer group, and following up with sharing that back with the regulatory agencies that we need to get permits from. That's the county's own DCD department, Fish and Wildlife from the state of Washington, and the Army Corps of Engineers from the feds. So there's a lot of overlaying permit challenges here. Because of that, the timing of the project has become a challenge, we'll just say it that way. And that has then changed our approach. And so we've kind of modified this from a two-phase or a three-phase kind of a two-phased approach. And the way that this is kind of going to unfold on the ground is slightly different. Because we're proposing our full design of the beach rehabilitation project isn't just a rebuild back to pre-storm conditions. It is actually enhancing both the elevation of the beach sand, the stability of it, as well as kind of re-engineering the rock revetment wall in front of the lighthouse there. All of that requires, because it is above and beyond what was pre-existing, it requires a significant amount of permitting and effort with these regulatory agencies. We are not going to be able to accomplish that in 2023. So what we are proposing to do there, we do have opportunity to do improvements in 23, and those kind of fall under a shoreline exemption, which allows us to do quote unquote maintenance in the park. That maintenance does allow us to go in, but only to a certain threshold. It allows us to do rehabilitation work to take it back to what pre-storm conditions were, but nothing more. So everything in our design that is proposing to add a secondary dune, increase the height of the dunes, add vegetation planting to the dunes, improve the stability and the slope around the rock revetment wall, et cetera, et cetera. Those are going to need to come at a later time, kind of in this phase 2 concept. So what we're going to do in phase 1 here is submit the appropriate permits. Since this is maintenance based, in theory, those should come loose pretty quickly and get approved, which would then allow us to go in and do work to bring the beach elevation levels back to pre-storm conditions. And not really anything more than that, but we'll be able to do that at least, which will help with the stability and protection of the beach as we kind of march forward into our winter season. Since we know that those elevations were breached last winter, we are not going to simply do that and walk away. We are also going to retain the super sack sand wall that is currently in place that helps provide that elevated elevation and secondary protection. And that will retain in place for the rest of the winter, or at least that's what we're proposing. And then will give us the rest of the fall and winter to go through the formal permitting process for the regulatory agencies to do that phase 2 work, which is that heightened level of elevation, additional soil and sand work, improving stability on the beach, and like I said, rebuilding the rock revetment. Doing that kind of above and beyond work will come in 2024. So just wanted to share this new direction and a new approach. Also in the capital program, quick update on the 2 parking lots at Port Gamble. The Stottlemyre parking lot, which is at the south end of the park off of Stottlemyre Road, is a smallish parking lot, 25 stalls with and 5 pull-through stalls for equestrian truck and trailer access. That permit has been approved, and we are very close to going to public bid to move this into its construction phase. Since this, we lost our capital projects person. Aaron had picked up the pieces and was continuing to move this one forward. And now we are unfortunately losing Aaron. We've had conversations with Public Works Department, and their engineering and construction management division is going to assist the Parks Department with this project to help facilitate the construction management component of this. So this one will not be put on pause. It is going to continue to move forward. And barring anything unforeseen from here forward, we will have this parking lot complete in the late summer, fall-ish time frame, and hopefully by the end of the year at the very least, dependent on the contractor schedule. Quick note on maintenance and operations program. We're about a month away from the 100-year anniversary of the Kitsap County Fair event. And while the Parks Department is not managing, organizing, and hosting the event, we are still heavily involved in, we are supportively involved in terms of making sure that the grounds and the facilities are prepped and ready to go for the Kitsap Fair and Stampede Association, the local nonprofit who is hosting, managing, and coordinating the event. Our maintenance and operations and our events maintenance and operations staff have spent a lot of time over the last couple months doing a lot of work to prepare the grounds here. And I just want to give them a shout out for the way things are looking. We still have a month to go. We still have additional tasks to do, but things are coming into shape.
Linda has her hand up.
So,
Linda.
oh, go ahead, Linda.
Alex, quick question. Maybe you said it and I missed it, but I thought you said the Stottlemyre parking lot is going out for bid and that will be built this year. Is the Ride Park parking lot now not going to be built this year?
I'd say at this point, we don't know an answer to that. So the Ride Park parking lot kind of slowed in terms of its progress when the Public Works feasibility study for the Sound to Olympics Trail route moved that route from the eastern side of the park to the western side of the park. And that was not the original intention, but it has slowed the design work of the entrance road coming into the north end of the park. It will now be coupled with a parallel Sound to Olympics Trail kind of paralleling the entrance road. The other item here is that the Public Works team was working with their engineering consultant to redesign, to basically sync up the engineering designs of the Sound to Olympics route, the entrance road into the park as it connects in with Carver, and how it aligns with the already designed parking lot at the north end there. Their project manager resigned, and that happened a few months ago. So that also stalled the project. That happened around the same time as when we lost Matt, our project manager. And the project kind of fell to other staff who were doing other projects, and this one kind of slowed. Nonetheless, in the past week, within the county, we've had conversations between Public Works and Parks. The other project manager from Public Works, that position's been refilled, and they are re-engaging with this project. They're moving their engineer along to finalize this redesign, and then it too will move towards final permitting phase and then construction, but we're not quite there yet.
All these staff changes certainly complicate projects, and I'm sure your job. It's brutal.
It's a good environment out there for workers. It's a challenging one for employers. But hey, hats off, benefit to everybody who are able to find other jobs that may be more in alignment with their personal goals and family desires, and are better off for them. So just sometimes makes situations for us challenging if we aren't that place. All right, we already talked about the pros plan too, so I'm certainly not going to talk about that. I did want to share my screen one last time to hopefully send us all out on a happy note. And I got some pictures from our natural resources division from some of the work that's taken place over the past month-ish. And this, of course, is not a comprehensive collection from everything that's been going on, but certainly something to share forward here. What you're seeing here are blackberry removal and vegetation management at Hansville Greenway, part of the Day of Caring event that happened across the county. Kitsap County Parks had a variety of different activities happening on this same day in different parks. This is just representing one of those. This is not a volunteer project, but in the end of June, we had one of our all-staff meetings at South Kitsap Regional Park, and we capped off the second half of the meeting with a retirement celebration to Arno Bergstrom, who retired at the end of June. See him in the middle there, and on the left there is staff enjoying an interpretive walk from some of our natural resources folks. And on the right there, staff enjoying a free ride on the Kitsap Live Steamers train. It was a good time. This is Bandix Dog Park, which is at the South Kitsap area. We had a volunteer who offered to route and create new trail signage for us in the park. And so you see that on the left-hand side there, both names and arrows, as well as little doggy footprints that were carved into the sign, which is kind of neat. And then a cleanup from an unfortunate garbage dump, which we do experience on occasion. And this one fairly significant, took a decent amount of time to tend to it. And lastly, this is also at South Kitsap Regional Park. This took, I think, a couple months to accomplish, but has been a project that has been in the works led by Aaron Bartleson for about a year now. It started with creating the concept for this, lining up funding, most notably from South Kitsap Rotary Club. And basically what this was or is a wheelchair-friendly trail that runs through the heart, the middle of the park, and it connects a different existing gravel compacted wheelchair-friendly trail. If you're familiar with the park, there's two trail segments that run parallel to Jackson and Lund Road, kind of making an L. And this makes a connection from the two ends of those as it goes through the park to create an approximate 1 mile loop of this about 5 to 6 feet wide compacted gravel trail that is wheelchair friendly, wheel friendly as well for strollers and other users at the park. Very good effort by the department, by the volunteers. A big thank you to Rotary, and good win. And with that, I will conclude the director's report. And any questions, and I'll say both to the director's report from this month as well as June, since we didn't have a June meeting, but we still sent out and hosted the June director's report.
Thank you. Okay, moving along, district representative reports. South Kitsap. Anything, Larry?
Nothing from Banner. I've been kind of unplugged for a while.
Okay. How about you, Linda?
Port Gamble stewards, met, had a work party last weekend. Volunteer participation drops off during the summer. So that's always a challenge. We also did hear that we want to have the 2024 proposed work projects sooner rather than later, which is another ask during the summer. But Port Gamble's plugging along. I certainly am a little concerned on the ride park parking lot. I had heard there was a professional contractor who had offered to build it if it were permitted, and I'm not sure what happened, what's going to happen with that. So I was surprised. The last couple work parties that I've participated in Port Gamble, Evergreen is holding classes up in the ride park, and the gates open and people are driving in. And that's worrisome. It's one thing to have a work party and to have the volunteer stickers or to have somebody that's really specifically working on it, but I am starting to get concerned about just the number of people driving. And I just saw one. It only takes one person who's not driving well to get your attention, but they came in fast. They were late for a class, and they were driving, at least they headed out like they were driving on a road, not in a park. And it just seems to me, especially if the ride parking lot may be further delayed, that I think it might need to be reviewed how many people are driving up to the ride park, because I think that able-bodied people, especially if they're not bringing in tools and stuff, really should be riding their bikes or walking. There's a safety concern, and if the parking lot's going to be delayed another season, that could be a problem.
Thank you.
That's
How
all I've got.
about you, Nancy?
Newbury Hills has a meeting tomorrow night.
You turn your mic on.
Thank you. Newbury Hills has a meeting tomorrow night. And there's a work party on Saturday that I won't be able to attend, but I think it's a boardwalk repairs of some sort.
Thank you. Lisa, do you have anything to report?
No, I was just listening to the comments about the cars going up the path, and I've noticed that as well. That is a concern. I've heard it from other people too, just the amount of traffic. And I also like that the trail that was created in South Kitsap that you just showed with the crushed composite. And I was thinking, how much did Rotary spend to help create that? And why couldn't the STO be that kind of surface instead of 14 feet of pavement? And how much money would we save if we did that? Instead of millions of dollars, it could be substantially less. I just had that thought anyway, had that thought before, but thought I'd bring it up one more time. So you're welcome.
John, do you have anything? No? How about you, Amy? No, and I don't either. So let's move on to old business. Does anyone have any old business?
I had a question on the Hansville Greenway. A couple of meetings ago, we had talked about the land trade. I know that the Hansville Greenway has this land acquisition they're trying to purchase that's within the park. I think they're calling it the Pond Connection. Then there was a discussion that we had here about selling another piece of property that is outside the park, but was purchased as part of the park. What's happening with that? And, you know, I mean, I know things like that don't happen in an instant, but I was wondering if we could get an update on that. And also, I was surprised to see the news in the tiny homes that we had also discussed and approved for, you know, one of the parks. I was wondering, Alex, if you have an update on either of those two.
Did you say tiny homes?
Tiny homes? Yeah, the tiny homes that we're going to go down in the new park in South Kitsap that then the Parks Board reviewed about 1.5 years ago. And there's been a lot of stuff in the press about how Kitsap still hasn't done anything. I guess the homeless for housing that was going to go into, was it Coulter Creek?
Calvinwood, do you mean?
Calvinwood, excuse me.
Yeah, there was a lot of discussion about that. A lot of it happened before I started work here. And I don't have a great answer for you. I've not been a part of those discussions. I know that there is a nonprofit in the South End that has built a number of tiny homes, and they have struggled to find a location to place them. Calvinwood was looked at, as I understand it, its location being so far outside of town and away from services was a bit of a challenge. They looked at locating some of them in church parking lots and other places, but there are some building code challenges and other things that are above my pay grade and don't have a whole lot of information about. Not really my area. The concept of bringing those back to Calvinwood has not really come up with any level of emphasis since I've been here in a couple of years. With regards to the land sale off of Cora Road up in Hansville, we do have a small 0.42 acre parcel there. The thought was, could we sell that off? Because really, it is not contiguous to either of our Hansville Greenway large locations, and really doesn't provide a benefit. It's in a housing complex. And so sale of it seemed like a good idea. We did explore that. There are a couple Couple hurdles to get over. One is that it's zoned parks. So selling it to have a house built on it, the zoning would need to change. That is not an easy or fast process to go through. The county typically only does zoning changes once a year. The other problem is that to change it to rural residential, which is I think what the other building homes up there are at, is that this lot is non-conforming. It does not meet the requirements of what is required up in that area. So it's, we may not even be able to change the zoning on it, which then kind of bounces back. Aaron had been working with other county staff to look into options as to how we might move forward with this. But it has kind of become clear that it's not the timeline on it's not going to be workable for the purchase of the 10-acre Knudsen property that is adjacent to Hansville Greenway and sits kind of at the south end of it. So they did put in a request to Commissioner Wolfus for use of conservation futures funding to close the gap on the needed amount of money to make the acquisition. And county staff is reviewing that request currently.
Thank you.
Real quick, with regards to EMBA and the cars going up, I appreciate the comments. I will have a conversation with EMBA. I didn't realize that there was that much activity happening up there. And we certainly have some risk and liability issues with that many vehicles going through the park. That's not desirable, but I'll work on that. Thanks.
I would think that the logical people that would be interested in buying that are the adjoining neighbors. Have they been contacted?
No, we've not actively engaged anybody in a sale of this.
Okay, any other old business? I just have one thing, the kiosk at Olala Boat Launch, has that been approved?
Yes.
And is it actively being done?
Ask Greg. I put Greg in touch with Brian and they were going to coordinate the construction and the installation of it. I've heard that it is ready for install, but Greg has been giving me the formal approval.
Okay, perfect. I'll check with him.
Yeah,
Thank you so
and Aaron, who's in touch with the representatives for the I don't know, the Safe Swim program or something like that that provides the life jackets. We've already got that lined up too. So
great. Thank you.
We've kind of lined up the pieces.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And is there any new business? Nancy.
I would like to propose that the public comment about the fire station in Fort Gamble. And it's not parks business, so to speak, but it is important to that park. A fire there would be disastrous. So I would like to open for discussion that a letter of support for that do come from the park. We are definitely safe.
I think I should share here. I was the project manager for the redevelopment of Port Gamble. Mr. Willett did enter that comment into the environmental impact statement process. It was reviewed by the fire district and it was not required. So the Port Gamble redevelopment has been approved a couple of years ago. So, and his comment did get reviewed and considered and go through the hearing examiner and everything else.
Thank you for that information, Linda.
The other comment I was going to make is about the nature preserve set aside in parks. I mean, you know, 100 and some acres, parks like Banner and like you haven't really. You should map Nancy. I have it on. Just that you know, I know it's proposed, but, I think that that's a pretty aggressive stance to have a minimum that much in parks where Banner Forest, I mean, every inch of that's a trail. I swear, I can get turned around and lost in it. There's not really anything I could think of. And Illahee a small park. You know, there's a lot of the more developed older parks, Newbury Hill, where it would be pretty hard to do that. You know, Calder Creek, yeah, I mean, that's a new park and there's ample room. So just my comment.
Thank you. Any more new business? Hearing none. All right, a motion to adjourn. the meeting.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. The meeting has concluded. Have a nice summer. See you next month.
But I don't disagree.